Hi everyone and welcome back to Story of the World Highlights. Today we're going to be talking about our culminating project and what is required. So let's get started. We have 4 options for our culminating project of Story of the World. We learned about lots of things, so I did want to give you options as to how you wanted to show what you learned. Our first option is a historical journal. To do this option, you need to pick a historical figure we've read about. This could be Mary, Queen of Scots. This can be Aurangzeb. This could be Henry Hudson, Queen Elizabeth, Shin Chang. Anyone you think you want to do, you can do. And in this diary entry, you are going to imagine that you are them living their day-to-day life, and you are going to write about what happens in their day. This may be if you're imagining that you were the king during the building of the Taj Mahal. Maybe you are talking about waking up, eating some breakfast at the palace and going over to check on the progress of building. Maybe there's a problem and one of the tiles was a wrong color and you yelled at the worker and made him bring you a new one that was the right color. Things like this. To get 100%, you need to have a cover for your diary or journal, whatever you want to call it. It needs to have 5 entries in letter format. That means we have a Dear Diary or a Dear Journal, sincerely or from or yours or just the name of whoever you're writing as. Each entry should be 150 to 200 words in length, and it can be typed or handwritten. If you do choose to do handwritten, I ask that it is very clearly written, so when you take a picture and put it on a slide for us to see, we can clearly read it. Okay? Again, there should be a date at the top of the page. We are doing letter formatting. You can pick a random day, but you might want to keep the years as accurate as you can get to. Okay. Now, how would you present this? You put it on a slide, your diary entries. You will share screen in class, and you will read to us one of your diary entries and show us the rest of them. Okay. Next, we have a year in review. So as you can see in the example, this person chose 1920, which is not a year we discussed, so it is not an option for you. And they talked about different things that happened in 1920, from trends to fashion to innovations. Ours is going to be a little bit different to better fit our needs. And what we're going to do is we're also going to pick a year and put it in the center, just like they have. But then you are going to pick events that happened in that year. You need to have at least 4 of them. You can have more if you want. An example might be 1812. A lot of stuff happened that year. In 1812, we had the wars with the Native Americans that were partnered with the British. Remember, with Hudson. And then we have the different things like burning of the White House, Napoleon failing in Russia, a lot of stuff happening. So you could, in each of these quadrants, show those different events. It should have a title like fashion. Kids' toys. So maybe the burning of DC, Napoleon's failure in Russia, things like this. And in each of them, you do not need to have sentences and such, but you should have pictures to represent the events. It doesn't need to be in one scene. They could be individual pictures. And in these individual pictures, you should have them labeled. That is very important. And so those are the different requirements for this. Again, it can be digital or handmade. It should be in color. Alrighty? If you were to do this as a presentation, you would take a picture of this, make it the full screen size on a PPT, and then you would go over and say, I picked this year. I picked these events. This one right here is the burning of DC. As you can see, it's the DC on fire. Here's a British ship in the harbor because it was done by the British, like this. All right, let's take a look at the next one. The next one is a 5 W's poster. So our who, what, when, where, and why. For this task, you're going to pick an event, and you are going to represent it in a visual, so picture form. This one, for example, is the Boston Tea Party. They chose to do a cup and a tea bag to represent it. If you do choose to do the Boston Tea Party, you are not allowed to copy this picture, unfortunately. Now, what else do you need besides a picture that represents the event? Well, if you look in the you need section, you need to have the picture like we mentioned, But then you need to list the causes and effects of that event. Here, causes of the Boston Tea Party, for example, taxes on tea. Britain had a monopoly on sales. They were upset over the massacre in Boston. Like that. Effects, intolerable acts were issued. They had to pay back all the money that they had lost by dumping the tea. Things like this. As you can see, you can have bullet points. That is A-OK. And then you also need to have the who, the where, the when, and the what. So for these, you do not need sentences. You can simply just put where, Boston Tea Party, when, midnight on this date, 1773. Okay. And because it is a visual representation, of course, it needs to be in color. And as always, it can be digital or handwritten. When you present this, you might say, I chose to do the Boston Tea Party. Here, I chose to do a cup to represent a teacup and the tea bag to represent the tea. I listed some of the causes as blah, 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 and the effects as blah, blah, blah. The who was these people, the where, these people, the when, and blah. Any questions? Okay. And our last option is going to be the 8-square timeline. So in the 8-square timeline, as you can see, they folded their paper into 8 squares. And in each square, they're talking about an event, and it has the title of the event, a small description, and a picture. Now, these events need to be connected, not connected just by a year, because that's our year in review option. This is going to be events that led to something. They're all connected. It could be the fall of Napoleon. It could be the joining of Scotland and England. It could be the lead up to how England got blocked in the shipping and trade. It could be what led up to the Opium Wars, things like this. Now, you could do it about a person, like the life of Mary Queen of Scots, or as I gave examples previously, events. To get 100, you need to have 8 squares. 1 square should be a title square. This one says Road to Revolution. Each square should have that title, description, picture. It should be colored. It can be digital or handmade, and they must be connected. If you're not sure, feel free to ask. Now, this is a summary of all 4 of your options. You need to pick one option, complete the activity, and then make a PPT that you can share to show your project. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the group chat, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.